Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya, founder of Top Tier Consulting, and welcome to today's workshop about money and the holidays. What do we mean by that? Well, it all starts with how you're feeling about this holiday season. Are you jolly or worried? Now, I'll share the agenda and we'll have a look at what does it mean to be either or. So on the agenda today, I'd love to hear in the chat where you are calling in from. I know for a fact that we have an international workshop today, so it's lovely to have you all with us. And then we will have a look at the status quo. Where are you at right now? So again, centering on what types of feelings do you have associated to this holiday season. Then we will move into you and money. So really diving inwards and having a look at the relationship, the interaction, as well as the treatment you have with money. And last but not least, we will examine the money perception strategies that you can implement to shift a worry holiday season into a jolly holiday season. All right. Now, again, just to elaborate, why did this topic come about? It's the holiday season. We've got decorations going on. Why wouldn't we be festive? Well, not everyone is jolly during the times of the holidays because they might be worried about holiday expenses. And sometimes they might seek to retain control of their money, their finances, and feel like the holidays are running their wallet. So that's why we created this workshop for you in order to ensure that it's a jolly time. So as I mentioned, let's look at where you are at now. What is the current situation you are experiencing? Are you holly and jolly about the holiday season? If you are, wonderful. That's the ultimate goal. Celebrate it, enjoy it, and keep that beautiful, contagious spirit. If on the contrary, you are worried and feeling that the holidays are a little scary for a multitude of reasons, but namely financial or money-oriented preoccupations, don't worry. Don't worry. With these strategies, we will equip you and offer some resources to shift that around. All right, now to put things into perspective for everyone, I wanted to share this quote by Walter Wriston. And it says, capital goes where it is welcome and stays where it is well treated. So why do we put this quote in the presentation? Well, we're talking about money. What is capital? It's money. And in here, Mr. Wriston is saying that money will go where it is welcome. So that's why it's important to know, how are you feeling right now with regards to money? Because if you aren't feeling happy, money won't feel welcomed in that environment, and then it stays where it's well treated. So if there's worry and there's a bit of tug of war with money, it won't want to stay in that bank account. So just again, putting things into perspective. Now, what does this quote imply in your personal life? Well, let's break it down. What is your relationship with money? And this is a very large question. So we're drilling it down for you into 3 elements. Firstly, do you want money or have a desire for it? And feel free to answer these questions on a piece of paper on your end. I'll go through each one to give you that time to reflect. If you prefer to take a screenshot, come back to it after the workshop, totally up to you as well. And coming back to the questions, the other element to look at is, do you need money or are dependent on it? Again, there's a difference between wanting the money and having a desire for it, but on the contrary, having a need and being very reliant on it, that, you know, it's almost like a survival type of situation. And lastly, are you desperate for it? Is your situation so dire that if no money comes in, negative outcomes or consequences will incur? Again, there's no judgment here. We're simply sharing reflection points so you can gain clarity on why do you feel holly and jolly or worry and scary this holiday season. All right. And we can't address what we don't know. As that saying goes, we don't know what we don't know. So the intention here is through these questions for you to gain that insight and clarity and enlightenment. Now, just to dive a little deeper on needing and being desperate for money. If you need money and are desperate for it, it owns you. Money is the master and you are its slave. And unfortunately, in that situation, money controls you. And your power, your personal power, has been temporarily relinquished. And that's why we put this workshop together, in order to shift that power situation back into your own hands. But again, here we're simply exploring, taking an inventory of where you are at, and after we will certainly provide those resources for you. All right, coming back to the relationship with money. We talked about the relationship you have with money. Now we're going to look at, how do you talk about money? Do you say that money is scarce or abundant? Does it require hard work, or is it earned quite easily in your opinion and perception? And just keep in mind that what you speak about, you bring about. So this is why these questions or reflection points are very important, because they will show you how you are looking at money. And again, we're coming back to that quote, money will come where it is welcome and well treated. So if you're speaking about money being scarce, well, it's going to kind of appear limited, and that's what you will experience in your financial situation. Bob Proctor actually had a different quote, but always with the same implication. And he said, money goes where it is invited and stays where it is welcome. So this is a great quote for the holiday season, because if you are invited somewhere, you are much more likely to go and attend than if you hadn't received an invitation, right? So money is the same way. You got to invite it into your life for it to come knocking on your door, or in our case, enter our wallet or have a seat in our wallet, and then it'll stay where it is welcome. So again, hence the importance of seeing how you talk about money, what your relationship about money is. And then the final point we want to look at is, how do you treat money? And so what do we mean by that? Well, does it leave your bank account as quickly as it came in? Meaning, perhaps there's that desperation that's kicking in. Is it cherished, appreciated, and handled with gratitude? Understand that gratitude is a super powerful emotion, and that will definitely generate and foster feelings of appreciation and welcoming and good treatment for money. And there's another saying that goes, what you appreciate appreciates. And so if you appreciate the money, it's simply going to grow in your bank account and in your wallet and in your life ultimately. And last question, if money was a person, would you treat it in a different manner? Or because it's paper, because it's an object, you treat it in a different fashion? And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. We are simply having a look, kind of walking back of your current situation. This is what it is. All right, no problem. What could have led us to this situation? Now, if you are treating money like it's a object, and that treatment is very different from the way you typically treat individuals, that could be an explanation for the scarcity or absence of money in your life. So now that we've looked at the treatment, the interaction, as well as the relationship with money, what are we to do with all this insight? Well, given that now you have the clarity on what the areas of improvement in regards to money are, you can address them. And honestly, it all starts, as you could have perhaps picked up in the previous slide, it all comes down to the perception of money. What is the mindset possessed with regards to money? Mindset is a huge game changer in this case. And that actually represents the first money perception strategy in order to shift your worry holiday season into a jolly one. Now, you might be asking, okay, that's very nice, Tanya, but how do I change my perception about money? We are just a few days away from major holidays, and some have already began. So how can we turn this around? Well, one quick thing to do is to do the opposite of what you are currently doing. So if your relationship with money can be improved, address that right away. If the way you speak about money is more on that scarce side of the scale, switch your speech about money to abundance. If you treat the money like a object and not like a person, pretend that money was Johnny or Betty. And so interact with it in the same way you would your neighbor, your friends, a loved one, etc. And that's what brings us to point number 2. You could even embody money as your beloved twin or your cherished best friend. The third element you could implement is to start a gratitude journal. Remember, in the previous slides, we were talking about gratitude and how that can definitely foster more money into your life. And one element you can also implement is for certain bills that will come up in the next few days or the next few weeks. Even if money is tight and you are wondering, how am I even going to pay this? Simply pay whatever amount that you are able to afford at that time, but exclaim with your voice, speak it out that you are so happy and grateful that you pay your bills in full and on time. It might seem silly, but trust me, that will again mend your relationship and interaction with money because you are speaking in those abundant terms. And the last element you can implement is, again, maybe a little quirky for some, but that's okay. I'm still putting it out there. It's talk to your bank account that you are broke, if that's the case, and I am rich. Always remember that you are rich, because what is richness? Well, it's richness in your heart, richness in your mind. It's not simply richness in your pockets. So we are all rich. You might have a rich health as well. You might have rich relationships filled with love and joy and happiness. And that might be present even if money isn't. So that's why you are rich and your bank account might be broke, but for the moment. And again, I mentioned it before, this might seem really silly, some of the recommendations. Fret not. Get a buddy to do it. That way it's not so silly. You're two or maybe more doing it all together. And you might want to join a group or a community that already practices these techniques and successfully does so. For myself, these were elements that I've previously struggled with, where I wasn't comfortable with the financial health that I was at the time experiencing. And then the way I spoke about money wasn't in the best terms. And so I was introduced to some individuals who had wonderful talk and perceptions and relationship with money. And in the beginning, I thought, much like a few of you may think right now, some of their practices of saying, oh, you're broke, I'm rich, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm paying these bills in full and on time, when perhaps some of the bills were partially paid or whatnot. But I still went with it because they had phenomenal results. And I thought, well, there must be a method to this madness. And lo and behold, once I implemented a few of their strategies and got introduced to more and more individuals that shared this mindset and this perception of money, results really started to change. And now the relationship I have with money is a lot more positive, a lot more abundant, and the interaction is super enjoyment and filled with gratitude and happiness. So definitely that can turn things around. Now, for the second strategy, what else could you do? It's very nice to speak up, but what concretely can be added? Well, find yourself a money earning vehicle. What do we mean by that? It's a form of income generation that is done on your terms, meaning you choose when the income comes in, you choose how much income comes in, and you are not dependent on anything or anyone. So again, we come back to the beginning where we were talking, are you dependent on the money, or do you simply have a desire for it? And the other element that we're addressing in this case is that abundance of money and reclaiming control over your own finances, because we were speaking prior, if you are relinquishing your power, it is your master, you are its slave. If you choose your income generator, you reclaim that power, reclaim that control over your finances, and you are the master of your life, and money works for you. Now, what are some elements to keep in mind when choosing this money earning vehicle? Well, ideally, you want it to be earning money for you at all hours of the day, at least 5 days a week. Some might extend to 7. That's phenomenal, because money is definitely never sleeping in that case. However, if you are able to generate that revenue 5 days out of 7, give it those 2 days of rest and it will pay you back in spades. And then the other element to keep in mind is that it places control back in your hands. This is the primal key element here, because that was what was being relinquished in the beginning. If you're having a scary and worry holiday season, we want to put back the control in your hands. All right. So again, you might be thinking, Tanya, how am I supposed to do this? Well, a couple of ideas here. Start that side hustle that you've always dreamed about. Perhaps invest in assets that have weekly or monthly payouts, or maybe both. It is possible. And leverage an opportunity that gets you on the right side of money. What right side of money, you might be wondering? Well, according to Robert Kiyosaki, he was able to divide the cash or money into 4 quadrants. So there's the left side and there's the right side. Now, what's involved in the right side of money? It's business ownership as well as investments. So when you're choosing your money earning vehicle, either become an investor, become an entrepreneur, or once again, choose a vehicle that will allow you to do both. So just to recap, given that we shared a lot of information here, the 2 money strategies for a jolly holiday season are perception, and meaning mindset. How are you perceiving and thinking and interacting with money? And number 2, the earning vehicle, that income generator that will produce revenues for you at all times of the day. And reclaim your power over your finances and ultimately your own life. So at this point, do you have questions? And regarding your questions, I just want to add that in gratitude for your attendance today, I'd like to offer everyone a complimentary 15-minute call in order to have personalized financial insights. Over here, we were looking at the money earning vehicles, the community for the mindset, and I understand it might seem a little overwhelming, or you might understand everything, but still wonder, where do I start? Where can I find these resources and tools or these strategies that were implemented? I can also share that during your complimentary call. So the link in order to book that meeting is available on the screen. And now I'll just stop the recording in order to address your questions. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending.